How's it going?
Pretty good, man. How are you? You were in a pushy mood yesterday. Are you still in a pushy mood or
Yeah,
not
yeah,
not
yeah.
anymore?
No, I mean, I think I've been, for whatever reason, served a lot of horoscope content on
Ooh.
Instagram recently, and there's a lot going on for Libras right now. I think net, it's very positive, but maybe that has to do with the intensity of my day yesterday. I'm also, getting started with some consulting projects and stuff, so using different parts of my brain.
That's good.
Yeah,
It's all firing.
it's all
It's like
firing.
things are lighting up in all the quadrants.
Yes. Yep.
I just had a conversation. Well, so I do I don't know what demographic I'm part of by doing this, but I've been doing some asynchronous WhatsApp voice memo messaging with certain people,
Yep.
including my friend Rachel from college, and she's sort of into uh the horoscope insofar as it is an entry point into real discussion of the human condition and relationships.
Mm.
I guess I qualify that to say like she's not a kook, but like
Mhm.
I have a growing appreciation, and we just went to a dinner at my friend's house where the theme was like your star chart. Anyway, I got
Mhm.
like a 7-page packet about all my shit. So
Oh,
I,
that's
c- I could
cool.
really I could really dive into it
Like
if
a
I
little
give it
goodie bag.
right.
That's
Yeah.
really cool. Yeah, Heej and I have both been served this content, and we've been talking about it more because it's the year of the is it like the fire horse? Which my son Will's big concern is
I didn't know it was a fire horse. I thought
if
it
your
was just a
horse is
horse.
on fire, don't your pants burn? That's Will's concern.
That's my concern as
You know,
well.
pants and underwear. He's worried about both pants and underwear.
And do we know the answer? We don't know.
So far, I'm intact.
Good.
Yep.
And
And you too?
if you get burned off the horse, you just get back on.
Just keep on riding.
Yeah.
Yep.
Well, today we have a great guest on the show. This is like when Garth Brooks hosted SNL and was also the musical guest. I wonder how many times that's happened.
Yeah, I didn't actually know that happened, but it does feel somewhat similar.
I say that as if it's fresh in people's memory. That was probably in 1998. I don't know.
Oh, it was a good time.
Yeah. Matt, you're the guest.
Yeah, this is fun. I got kind of jealous because Pat had an episode and I didn't have an episode yet. Um, I'm excited to be in the spotlight.
Yeah. We're
A little
flipping the
nervous.
table,
A little
flipping the
nervous.
Yeah, I'm a little nervous. So I should say that you always do a fantastic organizational job of coagulating thoughts and writing a very
Thank you.
well worded question list that you give to the guests in advance so that they can wrap their head around what we're going to be talking about, and then you guide the conversation very, you steer the good ship.
Thank you.
But now how's this going to go? I'm out here flailing already.
Oh,
I did, and I made some notes, but I didn't send them to you because they're not. Was too ashamed of them, and they were not organized.
yeah. Well, I'm very happy to be here in any context. I don't need any pre-read, and excited to chat with you.
Okay, good, because all my questions are gotcha questions.
Oh dear.
uh, I so okay. Um, I feel like we should say that we've known each other for a long time. We've known each other since college.
Yep. Met in 2003.
2003,
23 years ago.
23 years ago, and it's been my pleasure to be doing this with you this past
Yeah.
year or whatever. Sort of like it's just an excuse to hang out is
Yeah.
the biggest positive for me, and like
Yeah.
um to get to talk about whatever, but also to get to about talk about stuff that is feels important and interesting, and to kind of like get to meet all these people that you have gotten to meet in the those intervening years, and I mean, and before, um, because your network is so varied and robust. It's just like we're only how many episodes have we done? 8,
We've
6,
published 8.
8.
Yep.
Um, Already just like the breadth of the people we've talked to has been amazing, and in a related story, like I would say that you are probably the ideal person to host a podcast such as this, because just in reviewing your CV, your your resume, it has been a winding and varied trail of just like different uh industries, places. I mean, just a quick, to give people a little bit of a sense of the scale here, and then you can jump in wherever you like. We knew each other in college. You I think you dipped a toe in some finance and the publishing world even, is that right?
Uh-huh.
You you made your way sort of into the food space.
Uh-huh.
You in a few different capacities. And then also the baby food space. Uh you've done some consulting. You have worked in the respiratory health space at Sensory Cloud, which I didn't, maybe I knew but didn't remember that the Fend
Uh-huh.
respirator
Uh-huh.
was the Time Magazine Best Invention of 2020.
Uh-huh.
Um, I didn't know this either. You were an innovator in residence at Tufts.
Uh-huh.
You then obviously went over to the hair removal space at Nude, Nood. Now, are there rival nude brands? It seems like there's a bra brand also Nude, or is that related?
There is another company that's called Nude, that I think is like a bra, like an
They're not
inclusive,
related.
unrelated.
Okay.
Yeah.
You did this coaching program at Brown University,
Yep.
and received a certification, and you've started your own coaching business, and you started this podcast,
Yep.
Trail Map, which we've been doing for the better part of a year now, I guess.
Yep.
And so, you talk about a sort of uh, winding path. It's funny, I have a family book group, which has read some ambitious things recently. We meet on Zoom,
Is
and
this your family that's in a book club, or are these other families?
it's my family. It's me, Mary,
Oh, that's
her
nice.
parents, my mom,
That's nice.
her mom's best
What good
friend,
people.
her brother. It's another nice excuse to just,
Yeah.
hang out with your people that you like to talk to.
And what was the word you
Um,
used? You said a intense book.
Ambitious.
Ambitious.
So we did like a bunch of Shakespeare was
Good
like
lord.
the Henriad, not even like
Whose
the
idea was
fun
that?
ones. It was the history ones. I think it was a joint. Um, Mary's mom and brother got together on this to sort of like think of something that could be grounding in these sort of trepidatious
Yeah.
geopolitical and historical
Sure.
times.
Sure.
And I think it was that, and it was also just like great brain exercise. Um,
Can we
go
pause here just for
Yeah,
1 second? Because I need, just while it's top of mind, I need to say that there are a lot of people that have been very supportive of us as we've been building the Trail Map podcast. But Mary, your wife's mom,
yeah,
uh,
Margie for short.
Margie,
Yeah,
has been just top of that list. I'm so appreciative to her
100%.
coming through with ideas for potential guests. Just her general, like, well, I'll wake up every, you know, 3 to 6 weeks to a very thoughtful text from her, encouraging us on our way. And I just am very, very appreciative. So wanted to call that out.
100%. I'm right there with you. And, you know, sh she's one of one. She
Yeah,
we I'm
that's
very
awesome.
grateful for her. Huge shout out to Margie, who we call Monty because that's what the kids call her, and
Okay.
now it's weird for me to think of her as anything else.
Yeah, yeah. It's weird
And
how
she
those
had
grandparent names
right.
stick. They stick.
But it's true. She's been so and not just supportive in like she's really listened to the episodes and I think she
Yeah,
enjoys it too. So
yeah.
um
Really
yes.
nice.
So in our book club with her and all those other family members, we recently read The Odyssey,
Oh
which I
boy.
don't know if you ever had to read that.
I did, yeah.
I
Yep.
was supposed to read it in high school. I don't think I made it very far on my personal Odyssey,
Yeah,
but like your resume here is like a kind of an odyssey, man. Like you started in Boston, you made it out to San Francisco, you made it back. You've done I mean, I didn't even list all the things you've done. And
actually lived in New York City between Boston and San Francisco too
should
for
yes, yep.
11 months.
See, I'm leaving stuff out
Um,
left and right.
no, no.
Do you okay, so when we first knew each other in college, do you remember what you thought you were going to set out to do or what you wanted to do the most? What was your head space
That's a
like
really
at
good
that time?
question. I think, so when Pat and I met in 2003, I had just finished up at a prep school in the Boston area called Middlesex. Shout out to Middlesex people. It's a wonderful school, great teachers, very supportive community, super privileged community. We're in Concord, Massachusetts, just like beautiful part of Boston area. And so for me, college was a huge step from that. Leaving Massachusetts, going to even if it was just to Connecticut, going down to Connecticut. Wesleyan felt like so much closer to the real world than anything that I'd ever experienced before. And so I remember in college, like putting a lot of my energy towards college, and not really having much focus on career beyond that. Um, I guess with the exception of like I did do summer jobs, and I was a kid growing up that like hated summer camp. Um, it's somewhat ironic because I ended up being a camp counselor and having that be one of my favorite jobs. But the being a summer camper, like I'd much rather just hang out with my parents and my cousins, and so that's what I did a lot growing up. But then once I came of an age where I could hold a job, I started working, and I think like so that entrepreneurial bug was in me. I also grew up in a family where there was a lot of interest in entrepreneurship. My dad, in his last chapter of his career, ran the entrepreneurship program at Northeastern University for over 10 years, and had an amazing experience with that. And then my grandfather was a early venture capital guy, who uh, you know did VC work at a time when it was very focused on supporting cool ideas from entrepreneurs and figuring out how to give them the capital they needed to be successful. And I grew up, both my dad and my grandfather are important role models for me. And so I think I had that influence in the back of my mind. And then I had these summer internships and stuff. But I remember very clearly, spring of 2007 when we were getting ready to graduate from Wesleyan. And Pat and I actually lived together in was it a quad?
Or was it 5?
It was five of us. Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, and I remember that we have some wonderful roommates, Jeff, Charlie, and Matt, all of whom went into finance. And and I remember like being like, they were going to these recruiting conversations. And I don't think I was panicking about it, but I was like, huh, it's interesting. I'm not doing any of this like, recruiting or, having any of these conversations that they are. And I think it's because, my parents growing up had always sort of instilled in me this idea that like things will like work out and take their path. And so I didn't feel like a huge rush to like land that big job. And so I think my career, this is a long answer to your short question, but like,
It's a great
uh,
answer.
it's been very organic. And it's been pursuing, there are definite threads, even if it feels like looking at my resume, it's like all over the place. There are definite threads and yeah. So I could say more about that, but that's where I'll leave it.
Yeah, I mean, can you draw one or two of the bigger threads that have you've kind of followed through, or is that
Yeah.
should we?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. No, I mean, I think that my first job out of school was in wealth management in Boston at what's called a family office, or it's a multi-family office. So they had you know probably under 100 clients, and these are really wealthy families. And I was doing client service work there. And I think of any of my jobs, like, although I was good at it. It was, there was like a relationship component, and, there was like a project, a sort of management component, which I think, naturally good at. Like my heart wasn't in it so much. And so, I did that because I was like, oh, I graduated college. I must get a job, uh, and, um, and then, I think, um, from there, I think, so it didn't really apply to this role, but I think to answer your question from there, the theme of like building things has always been the most energizing for me. So I've followed that thread of building. Like how can I be involved with building things that I think are cool, that like excite me?
yeah, and sort of um, shepherding things,
Yep.
seeing them through, and
Yep.
like in a multi capacity sort of way.
Yep.
Um, and so can you show us your footfalls in a couple of other places where you've helped to build something?
Yeah. So I mean, I also need to give a shout out to a company called Harvard Common Press, where I both had summer internships in college, and then I actually went to work there uh, after finance, after wealth management. It was a small cookbook and parenting guide publishing business. Like there was, as with many industries, there's massive consolidation in the publishing industry, and this was one of like a few really awesome, independently owned by Bruce Shaw publishers. And so I had an opportunity there to be part of launching parenting guides and launching cookbooks. So that was my first taste of like this process, this kind of multidisciplinary process of building new things. And the coolest feeling of like creating something physical, like a cookbook, uh, you know, working with the cookbook author to do publicity, like to figure out like, okay, where can we send this author, on a publicity tour, calling up radio stations to be like, hey, could this author be on the radio show as like an interview guest? Um, you know, uh, so like that was, and I was very junior at the time. And like, so I was doing lots of manual and like lots of cold calling, lots of pitching. And that was a exciting process. And then I kind of, you know, uh, something that's been a big theme of mine in my career has been like, so I went from there to a company called 2 Degrees Food, which was a energy bar company with a social mission. So every bar we sold, like a Cliff Bar, we gave a therapeutic food product through Partners in Health to a malnourished child. And amazing mission, really wonderful team. And I built a relationship with both the founders, who, yeah, anyway, another story, but I'm still close with both of them, and they built an incredible relationship. I think at the time, Will, one of the founders, he was 25, and the other founder, Lauren, he was, in his, I think, late 50s, early 60s. So they built this collaboration, and I ended up going on to be their head of operations and like help them build this business. And a big part of that was building products for them. And so that's something that I've done a lot of at 2 Degrees, and then at Plum Organics, the baby food company, and then at Sensory Cloud in Boston, and then at Nude. And now I'm doing it more on a fractional basis. So, and I can get more into building a product, what that means, but is that's a big theme, as you look at my resume.
Yeah. Um,
You asked
I
for
mean,
you asked for one couple of different like themes. The other theme that I would just throw out there is like education and mentorship, as
mhm.
being another one that like is important to me, and that I've looked for ways to find that. And yeah, we can talk about that more if you want.
Yeah, I think there's a couple different examples of that
Yep.
in your timeline. Um, I love the partnership at 2 Degrees you were talking about, where
Yeah.
it's like a very young and a more experienced person coming together to kind of like share those perspectives.
Yep.
It reminds me of when we were talking to Paul Tasner
Yep.
about just the different values that people of different generations and
Yeah.
experience levels can bring.
Yeah.
It seems sort of common sense to me, but maybe rarer than it should be. Um, and Also, I think you briefly mentioned that your social mission was involved with Partners in Health,
Yep.
which I don't know, maybe some of you may know about that. And Paul Farmer,
Yep.
just amazing guy, and the uh, read the book about him at some point that
Mountain
Tracy
Beyond
Kidder wrote.
Mountains.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yep.
So I mean, that must have been cool or interesting or fulfilling to be, tied to that whole operation too.
Yeah. Yeah, I'll just say, I mean, um, I think one of the things I like about startups and small businesses is it's, you know, you can set out to do whatever you want. Like, you can, and there's not, and that's one of the reasons that I think Trail Map is exciting to me is like, I want more people to be inspired to go after things that excite them.
Yeah. I was going to say another thread that's kind of occurring to me is that you seem to have gravitated to these relatively small operations,
Yeah.
where you can be a proportionately larger piece of that
Yeah.
operation and have like not just influence, but like a lot of different
Yeah.
influences, and work with all of the important people
Yeah.
who are like really shaping what's being done,
Yeah.
as opposed to like trying to work your way up this giant ladder
Yeah.
where like it's a big ship, and it's like it's hard to steer a huge ship, but like a um I think Jerry Seinfeld said at some point, it's like, I want to be on a surfboard. That's stand-up
Yeah.
comedy, as opposed to like making a movie. That's a big ship.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Um, does that seem like another thread? Like you're trying to be on an agile place that's doing like something creative, and you can be a part of that creativity.
Maybe I think there's part of me that says yes, absolutely, and then there's another part of me that I Plum Organics. shortly after I joined the company, got acquired by Campbell Soup. And that's a huge company. And it was a really interesting experience because we
That
were
happened while you were there? You were
yeah,
still yeah, you were
yeah,
still so you were working basically
for
as an
Campbell's.
for Campbell's, but it was still intact kind of
Yeah,
as itself?
yeah. Well, I mean, now it has been sold multiple times.
Yeah.
Um, it got sold by Campbell's to another company. I'm actually not sure where it sits now. Oh God. I mean, so I guess I would say yes, I've spent a lot of time in small, like sub 10 person companies. When I joined Plum, it was 40 people. And it grew to be about 100 people in Emeryville, California. And then we were acquired by Campbell's, which is thousands of people. And I have to say I liked the 40 person, the 100 person, the 1,000 person environment too, because instead of, as a startup reaching out to a law firm and getting billed hourly, I could reach out to like in-house counsel and not get billed that way. And if I needed like somebody who was a process engineer, I could go find a process engineer at Campbell's who could help me. I think the thing that um, I mean, there's definitely more red tape, to get things done. And there's also a higher bar in terms of credentials that you need to get things done. But I'm not at all closed minded to the idea of working for another big company. I think it just would have to feel like it was doing something that I was excited about. So,
Yeah, it makes sense. I mean, for
yeah.
sure, there's going to be advantages and disadvantages to both
Yeah.
ends of that spectrum,
Yeah.
as you're describing. And as we've seen with a lot of our guests, like I was just watching the interview with Christina and talking about how she's essentially a one woman operation right now.
Yeah.
Coming from a bigger company, and it's like it's great to be able to make your own hours, but then when you want like anybody to pick up your slack, that's not going to happen.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's just, but I think that's a good unifying thought that you have is just like, regardless of the size of the operation, like the overall mission has to feel worthwhile and exciting
Yeah.
and, worth being a part of.
Yeah.
Um, so, I also wanted to explain that, we've been doing this podcast for a while now, and we'd kind of been talking about the concept of it for like years, almost in like a
Well, you're very humble, but I mean, this is Pat's idea. This podcast is really Pat's idea.
I mean, well,
On the
the,
record.
the reason I bring it up is because I was never going to do it, but you made it happen, and so like my idea was, uh, I was calling it "What do you do?" And it was because I don't know what anybody does in their job, and I wanted to have it a chance to just have like you do a school report about your family so that you can just like interview your family and actually like learn about their lives.
Yeah.
And I was going to do that but for friends and people I knew, be like, I know your job title maybe from the internet, but I don't know what that means.
Yeah.
um and now, this is, for me, it's been a great, like, you're kind of opening me up to your world of all these people with all these skills and experiences. And you sort of have a familiarity with them from, from either working with them or knowing them, you know in various capacities. And um I think s- it kind of works, I think, for us to be doing it this way, because I don't know them from Adam. uh so I'm kind of
Why
like
don't you
coming.
explain to Pat what you do for work?
Yeah. Yeah.
Is that the overall format of our show in your mind?
Maybe, yeah. And I mean, like,
That's
you have
funny.
some idea, so you're able to guide it, and I have no idea.
I don't
But
think I mean, okay, sure.
yeah, yeah, yeah. But uh, I think it's been nice to sort of like, just as you've been doing taking us through your history, like there for sure are common threads that people, especially people who are leading these kinds of careers, have, regardless of whether they're a scientist or a chef or a landscape architect or a,
Yep.
somebody starting their own neck warmer business.
Yep.
Um, so, uh, I guess my sort of question is, are you are you enjoying this as much as I am, or is it sort of just like, uh, are you? Because like I've been sort of surprised and delighted, and have you felt those things as we've been talking to all
Oh
these
yeah.
wonderful people?
Yeah. I mean, I think I have loved this, and I'm so appreciative to you um for you know donating your time. To be clear, Trail Map is not a profitable endeavor.
We need some venture capital. Matt, can you hook?
uh, and we don't know if it ever will be. But I love the idea of building a library of conversations with different people about their lives, and I feel like I've learned a lot from it. And yeah, so I feel a lot of those same feelings as you, I think. And um, yeah, I mean, I think that one of the things that I really enjoy and I think I'm good at is getting to know people and um and quickly learning. Like I think I'm a pretty quick learn in terms of quick study in terms of like, okay, how does this role fit into the larger, you know, ecosystem of roles? And that's kind of the way my brain works generally. Like, I have a very process and map oriented brain. So like I and it's consistent with the type of work I do too. Like I'm like, okay, how does this piece fit into the whole? Whether we're talking about launching a new product or, what a specific person does for work. And I think that, Christina alluded to this too in her episode, like they're being in product management has slightly different meanings depending on the industry that you're in. I would say that's kind of what I've done in the CPG space. It's different. Product management is different in tech.
What's
Um,
CBG?
Consumer packaged goods. That's kind of what
Consumer
I've done.
CPG. Okay.
CPG, yeah. So, but I think one thing that is consistent with people who do product management is that they're generalists. They're quick studies. They like to put pieces together, and that's kind of what I do. And I think about in terms of like I just did a talk at my high school, Middlesex, last weekend on careers, and I was part of a panel with another incredible recent grad, Steph Graham, who we were talking about skills that are important as you're setting off in college, and we're talking to high schoolers, but in college and then on your career. And one of the skills that I think is really important is being good at being a beginner, being good at like asking beginner questions and like really like how do you familiarize yourself. I remember when I joined Plum, one of my coworkers, Jen Brush, um, I listened to her on the phone call. She was talking to a manufacturer of some sort of baby food and probably a manufacturer where she had no real idea how they manufactured. But I listened to the way that she presented herself and the types of questions that she asked and like the way that she like quickly oriented herself to the way that the manufacturer worked, and I was like blown away by it. And I was freaked out because I was like, I don't know if I can do that. I was in the same role as her. I was reporting to her. I was like, I don't know if I can do that. That seems really hard. And I think it just takes practice, but as you get better at it, it makes it easier to like to have any conversation and to sit, and to try to really learn quickly like who you're talking to. So I don't know if that answers your question. I think it does.
I think it does. I mean, I think there's an element of just like being present, which is sort
Yeah.
of in vogue, where, but like it's
Yeah.
for a reason.
Yeah.
I think hand in hand with that, um, what I was going to say, sort of in talking about the origin of the show, is just like in having worked with you on this for several months, like you you're probably the most like pro- professional, in a sense, in a communicative sense,
Yeah.
like you're very responsive, clear about what you expect,
Yep.
and what what needs to happen
Yep.
in a way that doesn't feel like annoying or
Ask my wife
like
about that. I don't know.
nagging or whatever. I mean, just compared to like the other emails that bop in. I mean, like I work in the music industry. I don't know. So probably people are probably just drunk 24 hours. No, I'm just um but like it going against the trend of like everybody has a phone all the time, so you kind of expect people to flake out on you
Yeah.
or just like change plans at the last minute or something.
Yeah.
Um, like I think you, in addition to the sort of like ability to communicate with different types of people that you were describing, I think you have this. I don't know if like a skill is the right word or whatever, just like tendency um, to just like do all the things that you need to do so that like the thing that needs to happen will happen, and the person feels comfortable and taken care of. And it seems simple, like in the experience, like in my experience, it seems simple because like all the seams have been sewed up. But I think I don't think it's that. Maybe I just haven't worked. I haven't worked in the type of spaces that you have, so maybe it's more common there. But like, uh, just in my experience of the world, that's something that's relatively rare.
Yeah.
Those
I mean,
combination of things.
thank you for saying that. That means a lot. Um, as I was preparing for this episode, I was like, this will be interesting. I wonder if like this will how I'll feel. Like that makes me feel really good. I
I
think
don't know
the
how aware of that you are, but that's
I
really how I perceive
think
you in a bit.
I I think the interesting thing about that is that's probably born from nerves, from like from like a nervousness or like an anxiety that um that is managed by me through preparation, through like born from nerves. I don't know that it's still as motivated by nerves as it probably was initially. Like it. I think um, putting myself out there like I have for my career is scary. It feels exposed. It feels like you're exposed for what you know, what you don't know, and that's terrifying at some level to me. And so I still, I mean, I have a lot of nervous energy, and I mean, one of the areas where I'm like really grateful to Heejin, my wife, is that like she is like one of the most available, caring, supportive people ever that I've ever experienced. And she has like a real, um, she just has like she's just very, very good at being with people as they're feeling different things.
Mm.
Her friends, me, her family, like I think she makes a huge effort with that. And so, I think she's made it safe for me to, when I'm feeling nervous about a power dynamic or, somebody that I need to interact with, I can talk to her about it. And that's been a huge source of support. And I think through the course of talking to her about it, I'm working on building the internal fortitude where I don't need to rely on her every time I'm like up and down or whatever. Um, but I will say that part of putting yourself out there like that is about having an incredible source of um, safety and support.
Yeah, just like a North Star slash backstop,
Yeah,
I
yeah,
guess.
yeah.
Yeah.
I think I don't like it when I get communications from people that haven't been thought through, and that feel like, I mean, a good example of this is like dealing with really busy doctors. Sometimes it feels like you get like a part of the information, not all the information. You have to ask a question 100 different ways to get the answer. Um, and so I think one thing that uh, I feel lucky for is that my life is like, in a lot of the guests that we've had on the show are people that are, and yourself, they're people that are incredibly present people, like that are willing to be open, be vulnerable. And that's the personality type that I'm most attracted to. So,
Yeah. I mean, I'm sort of used to your communication style now, but at first, I mean, but it's not like we weren't in touch before, but just not really in this capacity.
yeah.
At first, it was just such a oh my God, why can't it just be this way with everyone I deal with? And I will say, in defense of doctors, a lot of them have a lot of just a huge volume of stuff
No,
going
no,
on.
no, no,
And
no. I get that.
then,
I get that. I get that. I get that. And I know
but
you're married to a doctor too, so I don't
right.
I don't
But even
yeah.
people who the point is, even people who don't have an overwhelming volume of like literal things going on don't take the time to communicate well,
Yeah.
you know, um, an undervalued thing.
Yeah.
I'm sort of curious if there have been points along this trail for you. Uh, you know, I don't know if low point is the exact right term, but like times where you were like, I wish this could have gone a different way, or I wish I could have stayed here longer, or I don't like how this ended, or something to that effect.
Yeah, good question. I think um relatively few in my professional life. I think uh I feel that way more about like college and like earlier years. Uh I think that like in
How
my
so?
well, I think I look back on Middlesex and Wesleyan, and both of those schools have so much to offer in different areas. And I think I felt I think I had a good deal of growing up to do at that point in my life, and I didn't have maybe the confidence to really explore things that could have been interesting to me at that point in like a place of safety. And so I have some regrets around that, like just like where I was allocating my attention and energy in college.
Yeah, I mean,
That might just
that's
be the nature of growing up.
maybe it is. Yeah. I kind of, just like thinking about that era of life, I always sort of, I don't know, nothing is ever 0 or 100, but like I played a decent amount of sports in high school and I'm like,
Yeah.
I should have done some plays,
Yeah.
or like something.
Yeah.
It's like, why did I play all these sports? It's just
Yeah.
because like it was cool at the time and I wanted to be cool, like,
Yeah.
and then,
No, I think
look at,
yeah. Go ahead.
no, I was just saying, and then like looking back, it was like, I didn't have to do that. Why did I do
Yeah.
that?
Yeah, I think that the cool factor was important in the 2000s in school. I'm
And like
curious to see how that changes. Like we both have kids now, and my sense is from Will that, like, I mean, my sense is that's changing,
Big
a bit.
time.
So that's a good thing.
I know, and it's almost come back. It's almost flipped on me. My son uh, has, you know, does not have the immediate interest in like team sports or
Yeah.
whatever, and that sometimes that is like frustrating to me because I want to share that interest I have with him. But
Yeah.
then I have to remind myself, like, that's cool.
Yeah.
He likes all these other things. Like, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
And
I
I agree with you that I don't think the same pressure is the same, like, traditional gender role pressure. I don't think is there in the same way as it was even 20 years later, 30 years later.
Yeah. I mean, I think some of it is,
Sure, for sure.
but, I feel I can relate. We should talk more about that, at some point because I
Yeah. Bonus
completely
content.
yeah, completely agree, and I've observed the same thing.
Yeah. Um, I I don't know if you have anything to say about this, but this thought comes up to me a lot whenever I dip my toe into sort of like various other areas of the economy. How do you feel about the amount of like jargon that gets
Mhm.
used in the corporate world? It seems like you have been able to harness it in your capacities. Do you have any thoughts about like how people use? I mean, even just like I'm going to your website. This is not a knock on you. I'm just saying, like
Yeah.
your website, Big Forest, fractional operations leadership for consumer brands. I had to look up what that means. Like, I didn't know what that means. No offense.
Yeah,
Do you have
no.
any thoughts on jargon?
Uh, yeah, I mean, I think it's a slippery slope, um, and I think if people are saying things that they don't know what they mean, that's a bad thing. But I think within my kind of orbit in consumer products, like, people know what I mean. And there's sort of a shorthand, that we use to talk to each other. So, but I also understand why that's alienating to the rest of the world. You know, and I think, if I'm really tired and writing an email, like, I might lean into jargon more, but I think, using words to really making sure your words are precise and that you're explaining what you mean fully is an important thing to do. I have a friend who's an IP lawyer, who I'm hoping to have on the show in a couple months. And he is like a like masterclass communicator. Like, his emails, because and he said to me, like, actually, this is a good connection point too. He said, as a lawyer, like, he's really a teacher. Like, that's his primary job, and so he's teaching people about IP. And I think, like, I think when I like the way that I approach communication is through a lens of, if somebody was learning about this for the first time, they could figure it out. If there's jargon, they could figure it out. And I think that's like, there is part of me that's like this educator part of me, um that's coming to light there.
Yeah, I guess it's a matter of knowing who you're talking to and where they are.
Yeah.
And I mean, I should be a little more reflective in that there's every area, every industry has its jargon. Certainly the music
Yeah.
world has its own jargon. Um, and it's just, I think it just goes back to what we were talking about earlier and being a good communicator, just like knowing whether you're making yourself clear
Yep.
in the right situation.
Yep. Can I
Um,
tell people what fractional operations leader for
please,
consumer brands means?
please do. And you can turn this into a plug if you play it right.
Okay. So right now I'm running a company called Big Forest, which was named by my son Will.
I didn't
Um,
know that.
yep. And Trail Map is a product of Big Forest. Our other big product is that I do consulting. And fractional means I'm not a full time consultant anywhere. So I give somebody, a company that I'm working with, part of my time. That's the fractional piece.
Makes sense.
And then operations, for consumer brands. So operations for consumer brands typically means anything related to um, the way the business operates, which is usually with a supply chain that goes out and produces products. Um, it could include or be connected to quality assurance. It could include or be connected to finance of the business. It could include like org design, like who's on the team, um, hiring, firing, job descriptions, all of that stuff. And I think those are the big buckets, right? Like process, like the way the company operates. So yeah, right now I'm working with my biggest client right now is a supplement business in Los Angeles called Innovix. And I'm their fractional director of operations for the next 4 months. And so I'm helping them with all of those buckets.
So does that mean you have a 4-month contract,
hmm
which will be revisited, or is that generally like you agree on a certain amount of time that you'll work together?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's 4 months. Not every contract has an end date, but that's what we agreed to, and we kind of let it play out and see what happens.
Cool.
So yeah.
Yeah. Um, not to tie everything back to the TV show The Bear, but I just uh we were we were talking about the this TV show The Bear, which some people may know is about a chef in
hmm
Chicago who has worked at a fancy restaurants in various places and comes back to run his brother's sandwich shop, and then when his brother dies, and then he turns it gradually into a nicer restaurant.
hmm
Um, the fourth season, episode 7,
hmm
the episode entitled Bears, which is the wedding episode. Um, the character Richie comes to a realization. He's talking with somebody about a Zen garden, and there being rocks laid in various places,
hmm
and he realizes that he is the sand between those rocks. He's not a rock.
hmm
Like he's the one who is the place for those rocks to sit and connects them and allows
hmm
them to exist.
hmm
Um, I had a really emotional reaction watching that episode because uh, it's it seems sort of like uh, liberating, almost like I could feel that, like, maybe that is the thing that's okay to be, is
hmm
someone who allows other people to interact and exist in the best way possible.
hmm
um and I guess it's aspirational for me too, but I can see parts of myself in that, and I see parts of all the things that you
hmm
do in that. I'm curious if that resonates for you at all.
It does. Yeah. I mean, I think it makes me think of the book The Artist's Way, because something that I know Pat has begun reading. My wife Heejin is in the midst of it. And I think one of the pieces that the author um, points out is that everybody has a creative, artistic side, and that side can get blocked for a whole variety of different reasons. And I think Um, I think that being the sand between the rocks is definitely an important role, and I think you can build a career doing that. You can build a life doing that. But I do think it leaves a certain amount of stuff on the table, which is your own output, your own uniquely you output. Um, and I think I started feeling that like an itch about probably 5 years ago. And I even remember articulating it to the founder, David of Sensory Cloud. I said, like, I'm loving helping you like realize your dream of launching Fend and all that stuff, but like I want my own dream, you know? And he's a professor too. And he kind of coached me through it, and he was like, you'll get there, you'll find it. Um and I think that like for me, Trail Map has been uh a real exercise in even though I'm facilitating the conversation, that of somebody else's life and path, like it feels like something that I'm creating. So it's like, and I think I feel unblocked in a way there that I haven't ever before. And so I think a lot. Like I'd really like to write a book at some point. I'd really like to do more talking, like speaking. I maybe I think there are a lot of things that like, and maybe they're not even professionally aligned. Like maybe it's doubling down on that sourdough, bread baking hobby, or something like that.
Pandemic vibes.
Yeah, pandemic vibes. But I think um, as I think about Big Forest and what it stands for, I think, uh, a collection of activities that help other people get unblocked, help them do their best work. And then, you know, I think, uh, in doing that, I create my own things. I think that's my answer.
Yeah, I think you're in a good spot now for being able to blend. I mean,
Yep.
you're kind of saying that, but like blend being the sand and being a
Yep.
rock.
Yep.
And I think, you know, the ideal scenario is where you're able to alternate and sometimes be both at the same time.
Yep.
Um, so I think, I mean, it seems like these all of the threads that we were talking about are still existent and going on
Yep.
in these things that you're doing now. Do you feel like your uh you know college, high school self that was sort of like head down and focused on school, um what's your conversation with that self? Does that self, is that self stoked now? Are you
Yeah, I think so. I think the conversation that I have with my wife sometimes is like, with the skill sets that I have, like, are there other things not related to consumer products or other things that I'd like to be doing, that would be energizing to me? And I think college is a really uniquely good time to try a huge variety of things at a low risk, like when you don't have to really think about how you're using your time. So like for instance, Wesleyan had a huge film department. Like I would have loved to take some more film type classes. Or
We could make
maybe,
the podcast more cinematic. We could
yeah.
start doing more
Yeah, well, I mean,
work on
that's
my lighting.
seriously like one of the, I don't think there's any reason we need to keep it a secret. Like, I would love to, from an editorial perspective, with this podcast, get to a place where we have more like B-roll and more documentary type footage of, the like go on site, if when we do an interview, if like we even if we film the interview like this on Riverside, like I'd love to go visit the person and do like a tour of the thing that they're working on and like show that, and have that be, and I think it could be like really compelling. So um
Let's do it.
yeah, that's all in the works.
Um, we've made some references to your family, but you have wonderful wife Heejin and awesome son Willie. Will, is he going by Will now or
He still
Willie?
would go by Willie.
Willie. Okay. And how are they? First of all,
They're doing really well. Heejin is, um, I
excellent
think
artists, by the way.
excellent artist, and is a really great mom too. Has put a ton of energy into being a incredible mom for Will. And has I think Heej has done a really good job of building a community for herself in our town in Brookline. She has a lot of really nice friends, that many of whom she's been nice to share with me too. So uh, I uh, I feel good about that. And then Willie, he's in second grade, at the public school near us, and he has some big interests, in Lord of the Rings, Star Wars,
Ooh,
um, in Harry Potter,
the heavy
and
hitters.
yeah, so he's very much into the fantasy books like his mom.
We
Um,
watched. We were watching the first Lord of the Rings movie, and the the horses,
yeah,
what are they called? You know,
uh,
the kings that were
oh,
killed to for by the like the former ring holders that are now like these shadow riders.
yeah,
I
yeah, yeah,
sound like
yeah,
an
yeah,
idiot
yeah,
right
yeah,
now.
yeah.
That
I
was
can't.
too scary, especially for Nelly. So
Yeah,
we're gonna have to come
we
back to that.
we've made the call to hold off on those movies, and we've only shown the first 2, or first 3 Harry Potter movies because it
Yeah,
feels a bit too scary. But
number four
he's seen
gets real.
he's seen the original Star Wars, and, yeah,
Yeah, there's only a few scary parts in that.
yeah.
I don't feel like we've really nailed down what a good cook you are, and how many of your like a lot of the stops on your journey have touched on food, but like I think it they don't really do justice to the amount of culinary experience and expertise that you have.
Oh, thank you. I don't I mean, um, I do enjoy cooking a lot, and love talking about food. I love going out to restaurants, um, and I'm trying to get better at. I think you asked earlier about things that, I might have done differently or regrets or whatever. I think one thing is, especially like early in my career, boundaries were very hard for me to establish with work. And I think the first thing, and I mean, again, like Heejin, Heejin's been immensely patient, with this. Though I know it's frustrating to her. Like there were a lot of times before we, had Will and before we like had real responsibilities where I would spend, weekends working, versus like going to explore or whatever, or cooking. And I think,
But
I'm
you'd spend weekends cooking, or you'd spend weekends working
working instead
instead
of
of cooking.
cooking.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah, yeah,
And
okay.
so I think I'm getting much better at the boundary stuff with work and finding times and realizing how much cooking and shopping, like I love going to the grocery store. I was at Whole Foods, near our house a couple weeks ago, and Chris Kimball, who's the, um, guy behind, he started America's Test Kitchen,
Oh,
The
yeah.
and now he has Milk Street. He was there shopping
He
too.
was there?
Yeah. And I'm like,
Wow.
"Oh my god, this is crazy." Um,
That's where the magic happens.
I didn't say hi to him. I should have, but
Ah,
I should have. I really
regards.
should have. Um, but
No,
I
that's
think,
cool.
I love cooking, and I also generally, struggle with social media. Like, I
Well,
just
that's
don't.
fine. Social media sucks.
Well, but except for Instagram videos around cooking, like, I think
That's
that,
true.
like, it's really inspiring,
I
and I've gotten a lot of good recipes that way.
I shouldn't say it sucks 'cause that's a cranky old man broad
No,
brush
no,
thing to say,
it
but
does suck. It does
I
suck.
mean, I wanna give a shout out to my wife, Mary. Her social media digest on both Facebook and Instagram, her entire meta digest is for somehow the most wholesomely curated digest I've ever seen. It's all, like, stuff that's useful to her life. No filler. All
Oh
killer, no filler.
my god. It's so wild that you're saying it in those words because Heejin's the same way.
Wow, okay.
She's like, "I feel like I have just defeated social media, and all I get is cooking, parenting, like, just wholesome stuff." And I
Yeah.
open my thing, maybe it's just being a guy. I open my thing
Yeah,
and I'm like, "Oh
probably.
my god, this is horrible."
I mean, you click on one boobs and you're cooked, like, but like she, she gets, I mean, she follows like this mama docs travel, like doctors
Yeah,
who are moms who
yeah,
travel
yeah,
and gets all sorts of like advice.
yeah,
And she participates too in like other doctors like questions and then, has useful things to say. Like the comment threads are actually useful.
yeah,
Unreal.
yeah,
Unreal to me.
yeah, so it just know, folks, it can be useful
It
if
can
you
be.
if
Yeah,
you use it correctly.
it's still in its early state. I mean, people are like, "This is the world we live in." It's only been a thing for like 10 years.
Yeah,
It's crazy.
yeah, yeah.
Maybe we'll figure it out. Maybe.
I think unfortunately the incentives are not in the right place. So,
They
um,
rarely are though. I don't know.
yeah, I'm not sure. But that's funny that you say that about your wife because that's exactly conversation Heej and I have all the time.
Yeah.
So
Well, Matt, thank you so much for joining us on the Trail Map podcast.
this was fun.
Can we do a post-show wrap up like we normally do?
Yeah,
But
let's do
is
it.
your
Let's do it. Let's do it.
dun, dun, dun. Ah, I thought that was a good
Oh,
episode.
that guest was full of shit.
I I I hope it wasn't too scattershot. I tried to
No,
tie it together, but
it was
I hope you
great. It was a great, really helpful conversation. I appreciate you taking the time and the thoughtfulness around it. So,
I mean, you know, it's easy to do. It's easy to reflect
yeah.
back what you see in front of you.
Uh, um, yeah. So, what's I'm brain dead.
uh we have like so you're like I think working on like 3 or 4 other episodes right now that we've recorded.
Yes,
I'm stoked for those
I have two more in the can.
2 more. Yeah, one right. One just got
One just
posted.
launched.
And we got
So
2
check
more.
out the Christina Markolo episode.
Yeah, that was a great one.
And then we've got an episode with. So I think this episode will come out after we do the Kirk Wallace episode, and then the Paul Tasner episode, and then mine will come out. And then we've got some exciting ones coming up. I don't want to make any announcements yet because we're still negotiating deals with these potential guests.
Got to keep it under wraps.
Gotta keep it sensitive and under
Sensitive
wraps.
information.
Um, I do have one lead on a show where I might try to expand the um, editorial strategy a bit to include some B-roll. So that'd
Dude,
be
let's
fun.
go.
Yeah,
Let's make it happen.
yeah,
Make more work for yourself.
yeah, yeah. I think that's one thing I'm trying to figure out. I don't know how you do it, Pat, at your house, um, but I do not yet have uh, a working setup here that really works for me, especially like working from home, having all
In
these different
in what sense?
projects. Well, like just like a space of my own to
Yeah.
like really to really work.
I mean, I like my room. I gotta work on the visual a little bit. This is not like A
Are you in
plus.
the basement?
I'm in the basement, yeah. The back corner of my basement,
Yeah, I'm in the
which
basement here too.
I'm grateful for. As with all things, it can always be improved. I need to get some of the recycled T-shirt sound baffling material that Christina was talking about the other day.
Yeah.
Put up, but
Our good friend, Dave Eastman, connected me or, identified a product called Clear Sonic, uh, like sound walls. So I actually have one of those down here to make like a little booth.
oh, sweet.
Um, so
Is it like on wheels or what does it look like?
it's just like a folded sheet of fiberglass. So it's like a V. So it stands up and it's about 5.5 feet tall.
Nice. So
Uh,
you're in a little zone in there.
I'm in a zone. Um, Dave explained to me how all that works. And I actually got a compliment from one of our listeners, Hunter, uh, who said that he listens to a lot of podcasts and he thought our audio quality was very high.
Hell yeah.
So that
Thanks,
was pretty cool.
Hunter.
Thank you, Hunter.
Dude, I do. I think it sounds great.
Yeah. Yeah.
Whatever you're
Rivers. We
doing.
use it. We use an app called, I was thinking I should maybe like do like an Instagram story or something to show where we record and like
Mm,
explain the setup and stuff.
yeah, behind the music.
Yeah, and maybe you could film a little clip of where you record and I could do mine.
Yeah, we're
Um,
gonna do all sorts of filmmaking here.
yeah. Cool. Well, Pat, thank you so much, and excited to have our next episode.
Yes. Thank you for
Right.
doing it, Matt. I appreciate you
Of
turning the
course.
turning the camera on yourself.
Of course. Trail Map is hosted by Matt Gregory and Patrick Direwolf. Editing and production by Matt Gregory. Music by Patrick Direwolf. Animation direction by Hati Nguyen and Nana Teja Paibel.